All right, given the current market environment, I have made some changes to my strategy, so you need to know about it. If you've been following this page for some time, you'll know that we follow the 3-point move in price action. Inside of these drops, we have other waves or structures embedded in them, and that's how we distinguish that this is the first, second, or third. The problem with this particular market environment is that we've been missing a lot of this three. We've not been getting this. Each time price comes to 2 right here and does like some type of retracement here, we're expecting that we will have this 3 here where we can take a ginormous trade for the big move to the upside. But the 3 never comes. We just missed a trade on Solana recently and it was the same type of nonsense. So what do we do in this scenario? Well, instead of waiting for this 3, we get in at the bottom of 2 right here. Now, getting in here means that we are accepting this particular local, or say the bottom of this 2 here, to be the local bottom of the entire move to the downside. And we'd be treating 3 here just as some type of optional, or potential drop. You might be like, well, why weren't we doing that before? It's always because of the risk. Well, if you get in here at about the bottom of 2, your stop loss has to be below where 3 would have ended. So if you were on the idea that you could have you could have a move right here, which will be the 3, and it ends somewhere around here, getting in at the bottom of 2, your stop loss still needs to be here. Which means that whatever move you were expecting to the upside, if you were expecting a move to the upside like so, well, you are taking now a very big risk. Whereas if you had the third move to the downside here and got in somewhere around here, well, your risk is very small. And being small means you have a lot more to gain compared to this one. But because we've been missing a lot in this particular market environment, it only makes sense to start targeting the bottom of the second drop. Now, it does not mean that you get in here and just wait until it goes back up, yeah? Even if you have the 3, you just wait until it goes back eventually to where you thought it's going to go. No, you keep aside capital to DCA in the event where you have the 3. Now, being sort of a perfectionist in this stuff, I hate the idea of, not knowing what's going to happen, but that's just what the market is telling us that is the right way to go. So what can this now mean for Mr. Bitcoin? Well, here, what we were expecting is the third move to the downside. You can see that Mr. Bitcoin is still in some type of ascending wedge right here. So just in case you are not seeing it, BTC is still in this type of wedge. Meaning that there's a case to be made that it still goes to the downside here. Where exactly could that go? That could go into the lower 80s to higher 70s actually. But what if it does not? What if this was the bottom and this thing goes back to the upside here? Just so you know, the third wave has happened most of the times. Yeah, we are not like saying this is it. We are no longer using the 3-point drop. We had the first drop here, second drop here. So first drop here, second drop here, and the third move to the downside here. Even here, it's the same thing. We've always had 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you see 1, 2, 3. We have like 3 lower lows on the higher time frame. And for this particular one, we caught BTC somewhere around here at 52K because we identified this particular drop here. That's this drop after this bigger one as the higher low. So we were therefore on the idea that BTC is going to go up to somewhere around 104K. We were also bullish here and we said that this bottom right here must have been BTC's bottom. The problem is here. How do we know if this was the bottom or not? How do we know that? Well, we don't. We do not know. We don't get to know if that's the bottom or not. What I'm trying to say here is we consider this as the local bottom unless proven otherwise. Which means that if we were going to go into a long positions, for instance, we'd go in, but having the idea that the third wave could still come. Yeah, because here, this is the first wave down. So we have the first big drop right here. All of this is just the second, by the way. The second is the largest. That's the most violent. So all of this is still the second. And these are the structures that I was saying that inside of these waves, you have other structures embedded in them. So you have like a zigzag here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you have this big structure to the downside. The same thing here, 1, 2, 3, and a retracement back to the upside. Then you have the second drop. Here, after this big third drop right here, you now have your next retracement back to the upside. It's unclear if we're going to have another violent move back to the downside that takes out this low, but until that happens, we have to consider this to have been the local bottom. Now, to the upside, where could this potentially lead? As you know, in my previous Bitcoin update videos, we've been saying that to the upside, the minimum that we'd be expecting is 104 to 110. But by this particular strategy, how high could BTC go? Well, if we use the trend-based fib in assumption that this particular low right here was the local bottom, and we take from this high right here, which is the retracement after this first drop right here, to now the higher low, or well, as we consider to be the higher low situation right here, it will give BTC's local resistance, that's the main resistance for BTC, somewhere around $111,960. That's the main resistance. BTC will need to close, I think, like a weekly candle above this zone right here before we can start considering that it can go as high as 141. After that, BTC could go even as high as $177,000. Now, that's not random, by the way. We've already proven why the 170s is kind of a magnet for BTC. But anyway, this zone right here will be the local resistance for BTC. Anywhere around $111,000 will be very strong resistance for BTC, because going higher than this and closing, say, a weekly candle above this particular level right here will be taking BTC to $177,000. Now, just in case you wanted proof for this, yeah, like how do we know if this strategy actually works? Well, let's just go back to the weekly time frame right here and do a small demonstration. So if we did the same thing right here and used the trend-based Fibonacci in assumption that this low right here was the local bottom for Mr. BTC. So if we take the trend-based Fibonacci from there and we take to this retracement right here from the first drop, which is the lower high, and we come back to this low right here, which is actually supposed to be the new higher low, well, that gives us a very good chart for BTC. You see that Mr. BTC goes for the 0.786 right here at 45,000, has some resistance right there, comes back to the downside, closes a weekly candle above that level, goes to 1.618. That results to be some type of humongous resistance for Mr. BTC. It collapses to the downside with 3 waves, so 1, 2, 3 right here, has a higher low right here, goes back to the upside, closes a weekly candle above that 1.618, and goes now to the 2.618 Fibonacci level. That's 104K. All of this, we actually tracked all of this, and it comes back in for a retest of that 1.618 right here, goes back to 2.618, closes a weekly candle, and we are now fumbling around that particular zone. But you see here that we went to the 2.618. Now, ideally for BTC, for this particular weekly time frame forecast, it should be going to the 4.618 right here, which is somewhere around 170, 74, 75-ish. Now, I don't have the precise figure because it will take a lot of time to accurately measure this stuff, but it's somewhere around 170, 74, 75-ish zone. But you see that it's very interesting that it ties with the 2.618 of that particular measurement right here, yes? Anyway, that's just a new strategy. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. If you have any things you'd want me to cover, also let me in the comments. But until the next one, stay safe.